2024 Ford Bronco build and price. Yes, you can still get a Bronco, and you may have already ordered a Bronco, but you might not have done it the right way. So, scary moment. You might never get your Bronco if it hasn't been ordered properly. And it might be a very long wait if you don't order it at the right dealership. So we're going to intertwine and weave that into our actual build-in price. But Marie, you're in charge of the laptop. Sometimes people leave comments like, what is she doing there? Other times it's, why doesn't, or the complete opposite. They tell me, dude, be quiet, have her talk, which is fair. I prefer to listen to her talk too when she wants to talk. She has a subject she wants to present tonight, so she'll be talking. But she's in charge of the laptop now, and she also checks out what's going on in the chat so she can take notes, bring the questions back to me, and we try to actually gear the channel towards that. So it's not actually in the photos, it's in the Google Chrome down here.
Perfect.
So there we go. Ford Bronco, build and price. We've got live photos taken. They're freshly taken from today. So some very recent 2023s, the most recent that you can basically get, because one of them has showed up last Friday. So that's fresh off the factory press, we could say. So we've got a good idea of what these look like, what they feel like. We've got our own 2023. And of course, we've owned two 2021s, a very early 2021 production, as well as a late in the year. I think it was a November production, 2021. And it had less errors than our first one, but still some errors. And our current 2023 Ford Bronco still has some errors. Just today, I hopped over a curb, which is great. Those silly roundabouts and they're great actually to help reduce traffic. But we're going through one of these roundabouts, better than having a light system. And I hopped up on the curb, and boy, did that window ever rattle. I thought it was going to slap me in the face. But I still love my Bronco. I'd take a slap in the face for a Bronco. It's such a great machine. So the first big question is, really, what do you need to know? What's the most important information on the Ford Bronco? Well, let's get this right down to it. You need to make sure you order from the right dealership. Step one, shop your dealership. It's great to have used the build and price and know what you're looking for. And maybe in the meantime, we can throw some Bronco photos that I took today to get something nicer in the background. But the main thing to know, and the first thing to know, is, have you ordered from the right dealership? That means that you need to phone around or go in person. That's so much quicker to phone around or go by email. Email, you've got their lie written down. So people are most often less likely to write a lie down than to say it over the phone, because they can say, oh, well, you misunderstood me. So I've been, I can tell you, I was a manager of residences at a university, and I've been lied to a lot. And I pretty much always would see through it, and I'd get the true story of what had actually happened. But better to teach people not to commit crimes and not to break the rules when they're still in school, but when the consequences are pretty low, and to let them think they can get away with that type of behavior and then go out in society and either ruin society or ruin their own lives. So get this written down. I like the whole email process. Ask the dealership, how many allotments roughly are you going to get for the year, and how many are already on the list. That right away gives you a good idea of if you'll get a vehicle from them as a 2024 and when. I can tell you right now, if you order from my dealership, you'll probably get your Bronco in about 3 to 4 months, because the list is almost non-existent. So you got to know what dealership to order from. And we also know that we're still going to get allotments. And if we don't get any, we're going to get allotments. And if they're not customer orders, well, then non-customer orders will actually show up. We're still, most of my entire region and actually province, we don't have big lists here, and they're not just going to let a province or an entire state, for example, if you're in a non-off-roading state, a state that's more maybe geared towards environmentally friendly vehicles with less fuel consumption, well, that could be a good place to think that, well, Ford's still going to send them Broncos. They're not going to let a state starve of Broncos. Maybe that's a good state to order from. Maybe you're going to need to order out of state, or maybe you'll just need to order from the dealership that doesn't, have all sorts of internet advertising, TV advertising, maybe that flashy, beautiful looking dealership that attracts a lot of eyes to it. Maybe that's the one that's going to have a list that's far beyond what they're actually going to get for the year. Maybe you need to go for the ugly duckling. Maybe they'll have some Broncos. So that's the first thing you need to do. Now, the second thing you need to do is you need to make sure that your order is confirmed. If your order is not confirmed, the only way you're going to get it, essentially, is if there's pretty much no one left on that wait list who has confirmed an order. Or if the dealership's not confirming any of their orders, they'll get some Broncos, but a whole lot less than if they were confirming their orders. And you've got a dealership that doesn't have any, they haven't signed. When you confirm an order with Ford and you enroll it, you're sending proof, your signature as a dealership to Ford with a price on it. Much more reluctant to cheat the customer, cheat the buyer when the vehicle shows up than when you've sent off paperwork to Ford saying, here's our signature, here's the client's signature, the customer, this is what, this is the pricing. Makes it so that when the vehicle shows up, you try to oversell it. And if you as a customer kept that copy, please do keep your signed copy. It should be a purchase offer or a lease offer and a build sheet signed by you and them. And there might be a few other contracts, but those are the main big ones. You need to have given your driver's license, and all your details need to be correct. Your address, your name written out correctly, address correct, even your zip code, postal code if you're in Canada, all that needs to be done correctly. The correct email, make sure everything's perfect, review it, get them to sign it, keep your copy. That's how you can kind of push them against the wall with the sheet in your hand and say, this is the price I'm paying. Of course, if it comes in as a 2025, that's a different story. Then you can expect to get the first available 2025 price. But if you do get pushed to a 2025, they need to reconfirm, redo the whole confirmation process, re-enroll with Ford, meaning get their signature again now for the 2025. Don't just assume because you have the 24 copy that you're safe if you're a carryover. But it is definitely possible to find Broncos that are going to be available. Now, finding some in inventory, we've got, I think, 4 or 5 right now. That's pretty rare. We're pretty lucky. We followed all Ford's rules. We didn't oversell through the last 2 years. We didn't have these, add-ons and markups and all this. So we're blessed right now. We're being rewarded. Just like some dealerships are getting less because they didn't play fair. Of course, they can't give 0 vehicles to a dealership because that probably breaks some rules in dealership contracts with Ford. Remember, dealerships and Ford, different businesses. Almost every manufacturer, the dealerships are separate businesses with legally binding contracts between the manufacturer, whether it's Toyota, Porsche, Jeep, BMW, and the dealer, Ford, Ram, on and on, GM. There's these separate contracts. Now, Ford has actually done the most in regards to rules with bonuses, bonus inventory, and loss of inventory for, not being good to customers. They've done, I think, the most out of anyone on the market. However, they can't just tell a dealership, we're giving you no vehicles. Can't work that way, but they're definitely giving a lot less. And dealerships that play by the rules get a whole lot more, and it's actually quite great. We've got a lot of Broncos. So the third question we got to ask ourselves when we're doing a build-in price is, what Bronco do we actually build in price? We've got a whole bunch here at the dealership, and it's complicated and it's confusing. You've got a beautiful Badlands. Why not get a Badlands? Now for 2024, all the Broncos, as sort of like the base interior, the standard interior is marine grade vinyl. There's no longer a base model. There's Big Bend as the first model. It also has marine grade vinyl. And the floor It's got, the rubberized floors. Maddie, how did you feel about marine grade vinyl?
I love it. I love it so much. It's easy with the dust. You're not afraid to have water on it if you let the top open
A
when
little
it's
cold in the
raining.
winter, so we'd recommend heated seats.
But it will be the same as the leather if it for the cold. So
Yep.
I prefer the material that it's indestructible, if I could say that.
It's not completely indestructible,
no,
but
but
it's
comparing
it's
to the
stain.
leather.
Yeah, the leather is a skin, right? So leather drinks. And actually we call it the leather interior, but it's leather and vinyl for the leather ones. But there are definitely parts where you've got leather, it's a skin, it can drink, and once you get a stain in there, it can be tough getting it out. I had a stain, or it wasn't really a stain, it was kind of just liquid gunk that had dried into the seat. And I'm lucky it wasn't a color that stains, because that was really tough to get out. And I worked on it, and I need to go back. I'm not even sure if I got it out of the leather,
Yeah.
but I worked it for like 20 minutes in the heat.
And like Marine Vet said, it's dog friendly when you have marine
Very,
grade.
yeah, very dog
You're
friendly.
not afraid for the dust, the scratch of the little nails. So yeah, I was loving going to Florida with that material, with the dogs.
Now, a lot of people, I think, jump on the Sasquatch bandwagon or the Sasquatch train, whatever you want to call it. And, at first, the original orders, a lot of wild track orders, because a lot of people figured, well, that's the biggest one, the baddest one. Well, I'd actually argue that a Badlands Sasquatch is the most off-road, biggest, baddest model. And it comes out once you get a 2.7 liter, a V6 twin turbo, incredible engine. You've got 315 horsepower, 335 if you run it on high octane. 415 pound-feet of torque. Some people have chipped that with the Ford Performance chip, so that, you're pretty much okay with, if your check engine light comes on, good luck. But if your engine breaks, well, the chip's not supposed to cause the engine to break, so you should still be good on warranty. I was talking with a parts rep just today and asked him the question, and he did give me the go-ahead to buy the 2.7 liter. So I only have one person left to the 2.7 liter tuning chips. I only have one person left to convince. But no matter what Bronco you get, don't get the impression as if you don't get a Sasquatch, you have a small Bronco. We can see right here in the background, we've got an F-150 and a Ford Bronco. And this is the Badlands. This isn't Sasquatch. It's just Badlands. And of course, it's not the smallest. It's not a Big Ben with just standard tires. Your Badlands, you're getting BF Goodrich KO2 tires that we have enjoyed in both summer conditions and winter. Those tires we've driven on the beach. We've driven on the beach in North Carolina. In coldish weather, we've driven it on the beach in Florida with extremely hot weather. And we've driven it through 2 winters. And it was fantastic. We love the BF Goodrich KO2s in the snow as well as in the sand. And I can tell you, for the marine grade vinyl, same thing is true. Same thing is true. It's if you keep the windows on a Bronco are tinted. If you keep them closed, you're never going to burn yourself. We never got burnt hanging out in Florida for 2 weeks. One shot, 10 days, and the other shot. We never burnt ourselves. Of course, if you leave your top open and you leave and you come back a few hours later, yes, you're going to get burnt, but soft top, super quick and easy to close the top. And I get a lot of comments, people saying, no, telling us the soft top is bad for winter climates. Well, we have a very winter climate, and the soft top, yes, our first 2021 Bronco on the side, if we could push, kind of get our hand out and have the hand go out of the top. So we're in the vehicle, and I tested it. I didn't think it would be true. I was actually driving back from Florida up north, and I'm like, I wonder how does, could the wind, if we ran into a snowstorm going to the side of the top, could snow come in? And I'm like, probably not. And I put my hand right through by wiggling it through. I tried that with our new 23 top. Couldn't do it. I was like, I'd have to really, really force, but it's really much tighter. It's a much better made top, better ribbing so you don't get wet when you open the windows. There are a lot of small improvements on the 2023, and you'll see that carry over to 2024. I'm actually very impressed with our 2023 Bronco. Yes, the window still wants to slap me in the face, but we now have Ford listened to the customer base. We've got in the back, if you get a soft top, we got the wiring. Because right now it looks like Ford's just not building hard tops in the last notes that I saw. Of course, I was on holidays last week, so I didn't get the notes from last week. And Ford didn't come out with the scheduling notes for this week where I could have seen if they're finally doing hard tops. On the long run, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem getting a hard top in 2024, but we really do prefer we do prefer the soft top. Now, no matter what Bronco you get, they're all pretty big. The Badlands, misconception, you don't have to go Sasquatch. Look at that compared to an F-150. That's big. Let's look at a few other instances. We've got, we've got maybe, if we have time, we'll talk a little bit of Ford Maverick talk. But you see right there, comparing, you've got the red F-150 on the side. That's just the Badlands. I think the Badlands is an incredible purchase. Marie, I think you already know what your favorite model is.
Yeah, it was a Badlands, but now that we have the black glossy grille on the Wild Track, yeah, I like it a lot. Because the Badlands, it was only a gray grille. Yep. But overall, I love the mags of the Badlands. I love the look. It looks, like you said, even if it's not Sasquatch, it looks big. It's not a small Bronco. It's more when I saw was it the Black Diamond or the Big Bend? I don't remember. At the dealer, it was smaller. Which
the Big Bend.
The Big Bend.
You saw a Big Bend, and yeah, it definitely looked smaller. You've also seen an Outer Banks that wasn't Sasquatch. Looked smaller, but there you've got a comparison side by side, a Badlands beside a Wild Track. Now, a huge congratulations to Krista Pickens from Buckle Up Buttercup, because now they're selling Bronco parts. They've got their own warehouse, so I'm really happy for them. Life is blessing them, so I'm really happy for that family. You can get a grill through them. They sell grills. I haven't checked at the parts department, but I know on F-150s, Ford will sell you the OEM grills. A lot of people buy the OEM Ford F-150 Raptor grill from the parts department at Ford stores and throw it on their F-150s. So you could throw on a Wild Track front grill on the Badlands. So Krista Pickens there, she's selling the front bumpers, she's selling front grills. It looks like she's selling pretty much everything for the 6th gen Bronco. So really good on her. Great to see that happen. So there's your Sasquatch package. And yeah, it's a monster. It is definitely a monster. It's got 35-inch tires. Some people feel like that's not quite enough. And I clearly shouldn't be doing the photos, so I'm going to let you get back to the photos there. But one thing to keep in mind, we just switched over to it. No matter what Bronco you get, they're all well equipped, and you don't want to lose out on money. So 2 ways to really truly see the equipment on your Bronco. Download the order guide or head over to fordbuild.com, the build and price website that we're going to take you in just a moment. But a lot of people get lost in there. A lot of people get fooled in there, which we've shown in our build and prices before. It's easy to get lost on the website. Now, it's done a lot better than Jeep's website. Jeep's website is pretty awful because they actually, they're kind of like a drug dealer. You know, they're like, hey, try this. Hey, it's not much. Yeah, they don't tell you the actual cost of having a cocaine addiction over the period of a year or two. They're just like, hey, just try a little bit. It's your first shot's free. Well, the Jeep website build and price is like that. They're like, hey, this is like $4 a week. You know, they're calculating that almost on 15 years. It's ridiculous. So they want to hide the true cost of things. But if you want to know the true equipment, head over to the order guide. So you've got the 2024 major product feature changes at the beginning, but you need to go down to the first model and check out standard features. So you scroll down to the third, let's say the third page here, and you've got the 2024 Bronco Big Bend. So that's now your base model, and you can read up all on it. We can see on the right side, or you'll have trouble seeing that, but marine grade vinyl bucket seats. There's your proof right there. So you don't just have to give people confidence because you've gone on a Reddit or subreddit or whatever it may be, a forum, and they're telling you, oh, this is how it is. You can see it. The order guide is never wrong. It can change. It can be updated. It can be, have changes even occur within a year. Ford can say, we're going to give everyone a subwoofer, Oprah style. Look underneath your seat. It's a subwoofer. It's a better sound system. And then, and they're like, well, no, actually, we can't do that. And even some Lincolns won't even come with subwoofers. So sorry. The intention was nice. They've given us a lot of extra stuff from our over the years complaining. But the main thing is you want to know probably, is the technology enough? So the first thing is, this is great. You can see it radon, proof, order guide, Ford Copilot 360 technology. You get auto high beam headlamps. That means of course you get day and night, the automatic day and night headlights, but at night your high beams and your low beams are gonna control themselves. You've got hill start assist, so you don't roll back on a hill. You've got post collision braking. That means if you hit something, maybe you've passed out after hitting something, your vehicle's gonna brake. It's not just gonna keep rolling down into the lane that has the oncoming traffic and have a head on. You've got pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, with pedestrian detection, with forward collision warning, and dynamic brake support, meaning they're going to prep the brakes for you, and worst case scenario, they'll even do some braking for you. You've got your rear view camera with backup assist grid lines. Very, very good stuff. Hill descent control. And that is standard on the 7-speed transmission only. So hill descent control button standard, but only on the manual. I think the manual is a great option. I think it's very good, but most people aren't going towards that. I'm sorry, I've got bad habits. I'm controlling the laptop when Marie is signed up for that. So Marie, do you want to take us over to the build-in price?
Yes.
So I know I'm spending more of my money with that Wild Track, and we've got those, we've got Badlands on site as well as Wild Track, because my dealership's idea is that those are really the two hot models. There's about $6,000-$7,000 difference between them. So $73,000 for the Badlands, $73,895 Canadian. Our Wild Track was $83,000, basically a $10,000 difference, but our Wild Track has a few add-ons that generally you're going to be paying $6,000 or $7,000. The Big Bend is good. There's nothing wrong with the Big Bend. It starts at $39,130, but don't be fooled. That is before transport and destination. So if already you don't like that price, maybe we need to think of another vehicle, because the price does add up quickly. If we go over to four-door, you can see the price difference here. $39,130, you hit it up to four-door, $39,870. Yes, the prices on the Broncos have gone up, but boy, in 2021 is a huge price increase going over to the four-door. So Ford is very eager to build four-doors. They're not boosting the price by, what was it, about $3,500 back in 2021. So if we start our build on the Big Bend, personally, I wouldn't go for the Big Bend. In Canada, we cannot have the signature LED lights, which I just like. I'm not a fan of this grille. Marie, you've got a lot more style than me. I couldn't dress myself properly if it wasn't for your help. I've memorized what combos work. How do you find the look on a Big Bend?
How can I say that? For sure, it's better to have a Bronco than not having a Bronco.
Well said.
But yeah, I guess it's, you see the grille, the big holes in it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the almost Tilly's painted in black on it. So yeah, you see it's a base model, but it does the job. If you want a Bronco, it's better that than something else. But yeah, I guess we used to other kinds, because the Badlands, Outer Banks, all of these are pretty similar, but this one is, how can I say that? It's a little bit far from the other ones.
I'd say if I park a Big Bend Bronco beside any other vehicle, I'm going to tell myself, wow, am I ever happy that I got this vehicle? Unless it's a Jeep Rubicon. The Jeep Rubicon looks, almost beefier, but it's got that small nose. So I'd still get this and save a lot of money, but the Big Ben's not bad and it leaves room for modification. Maybe you want to throw on some bigger tires. With just a 2-inch lift kit, you can throw on bigger tires. Yes, there'll be a little more strain to everything suspension, but it'll get the job done. Maybe you don't want to go take 2-3 foot jumps in a field, which is what the Wild Track's pretty much made for. It's made for those whoops. It's made to just blast through the desert and really be I can't wait to stick it in the farmer's field once the fields are torn up and they need a little patting down. And just remember, some modifications aren't expensive. Grills on these vehicles, they're not that bad. And with time, they'll probably, the price will always kind of maybe stay the same as volume sales take effect. But the grills really aren't that bad. Mags do get costly, and if you're paying cash, YouTube Spotter's Guide made a really good point. Like it's not about being cheap. $50,000 vehicle is a lot of money, but let's say we're to take most people take a 2.7. Krista Pickens had a 2.3, and no surprise, she's running a 2.7 now. Most people take the automatic, and the Big Ben, you can't have the 2.7 liter, so don't be fooled there. If your dealership says, yeah, we've got a 2.7 liter Big Ben on order for you, they don't have anything on order for you. It doesn't exist. And one major thing is if you Sasquatch a Big Ben, if you're paying cash, yes, you'll feel a difference. Now, of course, no matter what, we suggest mid-package, because who doesn't want, and at any time, you can just click over here, clicking on the little eye on the website. You click on the little eye here on the corner where it says mid-package, and you'll get a full description. So that one won't get bigger, but you can, of course, always compare. You can go swipe right or click on the left arrow to go back to the regular package, 221A, and you can ask yourself, what's listed there right here? Does that, tickle your fancy? Is it enough? Are you happy? Or, you're maybe thinking, oh, there's stuff missing. Well, make sure to click down, exterior features, a whole list pops up. Then go to interior features, a whole list pops up. And when it comes down to it, a Big Ben Bronco without anything on it is a fantastic machine. It's very, very well equipped. It will do the job. If you live in a cold climate, will you miss the heated seats? Yes. Will you maybe find it less fun to have to dig around for your keys to unlock the doors? Maybe. And that's why I recommend, for anyone in a colder climate, I highly recommend the mid package. I think that's the sweet spot. And now all Ford Broncos come with a 12-inch screen, which previously a lot of people were getting, the higher equipped Broncos. The big thing was they wanted a 12-inch screen and a better sound system. But our 2023 Wild Track, don't be fooled, folks. You don't have to get a Lux package. I'm sorry, I'm not going to speak for you. That's not fair. You're answering people in the chat, and I think that's fantastic. But I'm happy with the current sound system. I'm an old sub guy, and I like to shake the windows a little. I maybe want a little more of a thump to it. But the Bang & Olufsen isn't going to add a ton of thump. The Bang & Olufsen is the sound system that comes with the Lux package. I'd just take mid, 12-inch touchscreen, and if ever you feel I'm wrong, add in a sub. But I feel there's almost enough thump. I'm happy. I'm not amazed, but I'm happy because now the speakers they've put in the front of the vehicle, they're a little better up top, and they're a whole lot better at the bottom. Previously, I'm convinced we didn't have they're either really bad speakers by our feet, or there were none. But now, it's good. Like it'll shake your pants. You'll feel the bass against your legs. I really like those speakers down there. How do you feel about the 23 speakers?
Very better than the 2021 Broncos that we had. It's a huge difference. Yeah. And for just a normal use, I guess we don't need more. I remember in my Maverick, the speakers were not that good as the Bronco. So
okay. Yeah, our 23 Bronco speakers are better than the Maverick speakers. And previously, for our 21, we're kind of disappointed and happy because we had a Maverick on order, but the Mavericks had better speakers than the Bronco. And that was frustrating at the price that these Broncos cost. Well, Ford listened, they've thrown in better speakers. What you get with a mid package is 2-door intelligent access with lock and unlock. So that 2-door intelligent access means just the driver and the passenger. So if you have a 4-door, those back doors, nada. But you do get it on the 3rd door, the back. Actually, that says 2-door, and I believe it's actually really only the 2 front, because we have actually not a mid package. We have what was the high package. Now there is no high package anymore, but we've got 3. We've got the 2 in the front and the back handle. But here it says intelligent access will also lock and unlock swing gate. This is why the build and price website is important, because most salespeople, who perfectly memorizes all of this, especially when you consider it's changing back and forth. So you got to jump in the order guide. And sometimes the website is wrong. That's why I like doing the website for the photos, for playing around with the build and the price. But the order guide is where you really know, you can really double check the must-haves, double check to make sure that they're in the order guide. Dual zone electronic automatic temperature control. That's important because when I drive, I'll fall asleep on heat. And
that's true.
If we only had one temperature, it would be cold. So as a driver, I don't fall asleep. But then we're not going to have a good vacation, or wherever we're trying to get, we're not going to show up rested, happy, or well, because you will complain the entire time.
That, you were the type of guy who always opened the windows during the winter.
Yeah, I drove with the window open about 4 inches in the middle of winter. Yeah, I take cold showers. They're great. Good for testosterone levels. Ambient footwell lighting, auto dimming rear view mirror, front row heated seats. That's a big one. I would not go without front row heated seats. If you have a significant other in your life and it's a woman, don't freeze them up. Some women maybe I've never met a woman that's like, I really like, really cold showers and going out in cold weather with
on a cube of glass.
Yeah, most of our
ice. Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got, there's a whole list there. The remote start system on the key. Don't get mid-package just for that, because you have it with your Ford Pass on your phone. You've got reverse sensing system, so that could save you from an accident. But I like the cross traffic, the transversal alert that we've got on the high package, because it's already saved me from 2 accidents, so I think that's pretty huge. And it's not on that mid package. You've got the Ford Copilot 360, and then you're like, hey, what is the Ford Copilot 360? Well, that's where the order guide is gonna list it out. I already read it off about 7 minutes ago, because I knew we'd get to this point where it's like, well, what is this Copilot 360? Do I need it? And then, there's different levels of Copilot, because Ford's decided to name everything basically Ford Copilot 360, even though there's different levels. So we'll get to that in just a moment. And you get connected navigation, 1 year subscription free. So that means 1 year of smart navigation. But don't be fooled. That doesn't mean after 1 year you get 0 navigation. It's just 1 year of smart navigation. So you've got predictive destinations and route guidance and one box search. So basically just think of it as the vehicle has navigation, but after a year it won't be smart navigation anymore. It doesn't mean it's going to be dumb navigation, telling you to absolutely turn right, and you're looking and it's a cliff. We went up Mount Washington and the navigation wasn't trying to tell us to drive off the cliff. So
the only times we had trouble with navigation, I guess it was with Google Map, and he was letting us, he said, go off the highway just to come back and have the toll free.
Yeah.
All the time, there's a toll free. He wants us to take it.
And, I love these little pop-ups that you can click on. I just clicked on safety, and you can see right there that we've got, of course, advanced track. That's a fantastic system. All Broncos up to 16 times per second can change how much power it sends to the wheels. Now it's better with the 4A systems that I'll get to in a minute. That means you're getting a higher trim than this, or the Sasquatch. But when you've got the 4 automatic, it's up to 16 times per second each wheel individually works to keep you from spinning out. So it's not just a simple playing with the brakes to control your slide. It's actually playing with the acceleration in the wheels and, of course, the brakes so that you just don't slide altogether. It also is fun for doing, let's say, some mild drifting in the snow, but helps you not, completely overdo it and lose control. In the past of the blue one, I was in a little half circle. I was drifting that half circle, and even if I had the foot to the floor, was preventing from all the torque actually going to the wheels, because then I would have, in mid-circle or at some point would have just spun out of control and maybe slid into the little lake or pond that was back there. So it's great. You can see what's going on there, and you can also see with safety that there are LED lights on all the vehicles, and that is a safety feature. Seeing well at night is so important. But the Big Bend, I like it. But let's just look at what type of price we have. We don't have the 2.7 liter. And here's the big thing. If you're going to lease, you're going to find out that, okay, well, it's not showing the leases, but I've done this research in 2021, in 2022, 2023. And when you lease, there's not a huge difference in price. We're originally looking at, well, what if I get a Black Diamond versus a Badlands? And there was like $80 a month difference. The resale value on my Badlands, I had it for 14 months, so I spent $1,100 more on that Badlands, and I sold it for a lot more. So I think if you're gonna lease, you can allow yourself to consider more equipment if you're comfortable with the monthly payment. Make sure you're comfortable with the monthly payment. So important. Now, of course, if you're in a position where you're choosing between buying a Big Bend cash or leasing a fully equipped model, well, with today's interest rates, buy the less equipped model cash. And when you've got a little more cash, if ever you feel that you don't have a big enough Bronco, well, then add the lift kit, add the bigger tires. You can even swap the suspension. Mind you, if you go with the Fox suspension, like this Haas 3.0 style on the Wild Track, that suspension will cost a small fortune. You're going to pay about $6,000 for it. It is not cheap, but purchase here, if you go 72 months with the cash down, they're suggesting we're looking at $705 per month. And if we Sasquatch, that's where the price really jumps up. You click the little eye, it'll tell you all about the Sasquatch. Of course, you go into the advanced 4x4, so that's the 4A I was talking about, with automatic on-demand engagement. That means, let's say in the summer, if you want to keep your 4x4 on, or in the winter, you're driving, it's a bit of snow, a bit of ice, but also some dry asphalt in places. Well, if you're in 4x4 mode and you go to turn at slow speeds, you're going to mark up the pavement and it's going to hop the back end of the vehicle. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience, but Sasquatch is $8,660. In between modifying and not having all those parts warranted and coming basically, you're not gonna, if you save money, it's not gonna be a ton and it won't be warranted. So if you're gonna modify it all the way up to basically a Sasquatch, just get the Sasquatch right away. So we're at 707 if my memory is correct. What would, if we hit that calculator up there, because I'm going to let you take over, 72 months, 807 on purchase. No, we'll keep the down payment. We had it there before. So we went from 707 without a Sasquatch package to 807 with the Sasquatch package. So at $100 a month, this is why I ended up getting, every time I got, a bigger Bronco, because I'm like, well, $100 a month. And I'm never going to be in a position where I'm thinking, I really should buy mags and, take out the credit card or pay cash, whatever it may be. But I won't be paying $4,000 down to have some really gnarly mags and tires when it's $100 a month. I'd much rather pay $100 a month and actually leave my money invested and hope it returns me, 15, 20% per year. Or lose 15, 20% per year, but I'd rather gamble my money, I guess, than to pay cash and avoid the interest rates. But also, in 2021, the interest rates were considerably lower, because what kind of interest rate are we looking at that? You're a little closer, maybe you can see it.
The
interest rate?
it is 7%.
7% in the States, and I think it's at 7.99 here in Canada, but it can vary from one month to another. But because these are high demand, low supply vehicles, we haven't had any rebates on them yet, and I wouldn't expect any rebates on them anytime soon. However, demand versus supply's gone considerably up. Demand's gone down a little. I certainly wouldn't pay over MSRP for one of these. Don't be fooled. If a dealer's trying to tell you, oh no, they're impossible to get, you have to pay this huge markup. No, just order one from a dealership that's going to, and you might even find one in inventory at MSRP. We have 5 at MSRP. They're all at MSRP. Someone wants them, and you live in Canada, give us a call. I'll take care of you. Now, of course, we didn't throw on the hitch. We won't do that because those are all relative preferences. Would you Sasquatch a Big Ben? I guess it comes down to price. So let's check out. We're at $807 per month. Now, if we head over to Black Diamond, is a fantastic option. You've got your locking diff in the back. It is a great option if you want to do a bit of off-roading. It's not coming out off with what Marie calls, rims or the steelies. Marie's not a fan of steelies. I don't mind them. But I think that is a nice vehicle. And you can have the 2.7. But right off, if we look at price and, these tires, they're going to be, in the past, I've said I'd get the answer back to you. Well, just today I checked. Yes, a Black Diamond comes with tires that are year round. Even Quebec, we're pretty strict on, and we require a real winter tire. This counts as a real winter tire, so you can legally drive them, and they'll go pretty good in the snow. They'll go very well in the mud. It's a true all-terrain tire. It's got the 3-peak snowflake rating. I think it's a fantastic option. Grill, you got your black grill, but it's not glossy. You can always change and modify the grill. But let's see what we're looking at for price. 72 months, we're at $695. So I think that's a pretty darn good option if you want to do some, what many would consider pretty heavy off-roading. You can get some pretty heavy off-roading in, enough to scare you. But I would definitely get the 2.7 liter. The 2.3 liter is a good engine. It's a reliable engine. The Ford F1, the Ford Ranger has been running it. The Ford Explorers have been running it. Most people, almost everyone will not be disappointed in any way. It's better. I think it's better than pretty much any non-turboed V6 out there. It's just a 2.7 liter. I find, on an F-150, you take a 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 and I drive it. And then I go drive a 5 liter. And I feel like I have a little bit more fun driving the 2.7 liter because the power kicks in at really low RPM. It's a blast. But the 2.3 liter, it's pretty fast. It's impressive. And actually, I drove it on a Badlands that wasn't Sasquatch. And I was like, this has got to be a 2.7 liter. And I popped the hood. I'm like, this is a 2.3 liter. The bigger tire you have, the less you're going to have that feeling of, oh man, this has got instant torque. This is taking off. This is fast. The higher you lift a vehicle, and of course, as you lift a vehicle higher, you put bigger tires on, the less you're going to get out of your motor, we could say. And the heavier the vehicle, of course, because power to weight ratio is extremely important with how you feel power. Color? What color would you take here?
I love the bright color on the Bronco. It needs to pop.
Most vehicles don't do bright colors well. Most vehicles do bright colors pretty badly, but the Bronco is the type of vehicle that really does bright colors well.
Yeah, I love the blue, the red, the green. That's all good.
Well, the red that we've got now is hot pepper, red metallic tinted clear coat. It looks okay on the internet, but it's awesome in person. You actually saw a Maverick
in the sun.
Yeah, you saw a Maverick in this week going down the street, and you almost broke your neck. You turned your head so quick, and you're like, "Oh, check out that Maverick! It's so beautiful!" And I was like, "I've been telling you it's beautiful, and I've been telling you if you see it in person, I bet you'll love it." And I hadn't said that in maybe a month. or even a little bit more than a month, and there you're saying it. You're like, you're telling me you got to look at this. I'm like, yes, dear, I know. I told you about that.
And at the Bronco of Rodeo, we saw a red pepper Bronco too. It was looking great. So shiny color in the sun, like the eruption green. It's almost the same, but in red. So yeah.
And it does shine in the sun because of it's metallic.
Yeah.
Now the race red doesn't shine in the sun, but if you wax this well, it pops. Dave and Kelly from All Terrain Nation have, I guess, a Mustang and a Bronco this color, and it is pretty awesome. It looks really good. Those two cars parked beside each other. Wow. So congratulations to them. You've got one good-looking yard. Now, that's the green. Of course, we've got a green Wild Track. We love the color, but I think the deal of the century, and you're gonna love your resale value if you get a 2.7 liter. It's pretty darn good. Of course, it forces the 10-speed transmission. Now, the 7-speed is a fantastic transmission with a crawl gear, but the 10-speed is incredible. You got your plus minus on the shifter. Unfortunately, it'd be great if it was paddle shifter, but they've reserved that for the Bronco Raptor, which good luck getting one. Super rare. Most dealerships will good luck. If I wanted a Bronco Raptor, I'm looking probably at about 4 years. 4 years to get one. But I found two in inventory. So my region, not as hot on Broncos. If you shop around, maybe you'll find a region where Broncos aren't as hot.
Yeah.
They were asking, of course, like 30,000 over MSRP, but now one dealership has actually had it for 2 months, and they're down to they're at
get rid of
MSRP plus 3,000.
Oh.
If I didn't have the Lightning, and if I didn't have the Bronco, and I just had, I was trading in my 22 Mustang like I did earlier this spring, then yeah, I probably would just get one Raptor.
I guess here in Quebec, correct me if I'm wrong, people are not that much into Raptor than in USA.
We're super EV. People want fuel economy. People want
cheap.
electric vehicles. Cheap or nerdy or,
And I know in USA they love big cars. Here it's not the same. Here people don't love big cars that much. So maybe that's why.
And EVs here actually are pretty good for the environment because there's the negative impact of creating it, but then our electricity is now kind of, you could say the environmental damage is already done. So now it's kind of really clean energy, very, very clean energy. It's hydroelectric. But, I don't think we have it in us to responsibly recycle all these batteries. I think we're going towards a far worse catastrophe than what carbon is currently maybe doing to the environment. I think batteries, if we don't recycle them properly, we're looking at,
a disaster.
Destroying millions of acres of land for... I don't know if I won't say forever, but for more than hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. So I don't think that, I don't have faith. I just don't have faith. But adding the 2.7 liter, if you already wanted a 10-speed automatic transmission is fantastic at $2,145. That is a steal of a deal. You look at Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, when you add, 100 pound-feet of torque and, basically, not as nearly as much horsepower, but the torque you do really feel 100 pound-feet of torque. There's an incredible feeling to adding an extra 100 pound-feet of torque. You hit the pedal and you'll know there's an extra 100 pound-feet of torque. Well, usually car makers like to charge you 10 grand for that type of fun. So that is really cool. Now, model. What model would we get? Well, I don't know. I think if I had to order all over again, I'd almost be tempted to just, save the money now that I think the economy is going to be doing less well in a year from now. I'd almost be tempted to save the money, get the Badlands, keep it on the BF Goodrich KO2 tires, drive them year round, and
just switch the grill.
and just switch the grill. I think that's, money wise, I think that makes the most sense. And let's just compare here. We get a 2.7 liter engine, I don't want a manual because I want you to be able to drive the vehicle. I spend 1 week driving the Lightning, then Marie spends, and then I spend 1 week driving the Bronco, meaning Marie gets to drive a Lightning 1 week and then a Bronco the other week. Because when you look at the price difference, of course the down payment's gone up a little, but $871 per month. If I'm paying cash, I would definitely, this would 100% be your best money spent. Get a Badlands with a 2.7 liter if you're paying cash. When you're looking at the monthly, $871. That Big Ben was $707 per month. For $170 a month, I will avoid going and eating out at the restaurant. I will avoid a lot of things to get more vehicle, and I feel like that is more vehicle. A Badlands 2.7 liter, I think, is the sweet spot. I think it's spending your money in the most wise way. And remember, you get the Sasquatch suspension on this. So you get a suspension that's made to go through the whoops, to go crawl off-road. And the main thing is you get a stabilizer bar disconnect with this model.
But I have a question for you.
It's a rock
You
crawler.
said you will avoid buying things to have a bad lens. Would you avoid buying steaks to have a bad lens?
No. That's the base of the pyramid.
Don't touch my steak.
Yeah, that's the base. That's where it starts. The happiness level.
You will sacrifice a lot of stuff, but not that.
Having enough creatine in the system, having enough testosterone in the system, feeling healthy, sleeping well. I need to eat well. The mental is so much better when you eat well. So no, the steaks are the base. If it came down
You don't want
to
be depressed in your bad lens.
exactly. So if it came down to it, steaks or no steaks. If I couldn't for the $170, if it means no more steaks, I'm obviously getting, and actually I get the Black Diamond because the Black Diamond, I think you can do some off-roading with it. You can have a lot of fun with it.
Looks great too.
But for the difference, I get it, and I want the 2.7 liter, so that axes the Big Ben out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a Black Diamond if it means I lose the stakes. And when the economy is good and the stocks are going well, and especially if I'm going to lease, because if we look at the Badlands that we built there with the 2.7, and we can't look at the lease. I'm sorry, but we're at 871, correct? So we're 871. Let's now check out a Wild Track. Wild Track here, and this is where things get really complicated. You go to a Wild Track, it's Sasquatch, it comes with the 10-speed automatic transmission, fantastic transmission. Some issues with the 10 speeds earlier on, like 2018, 2019, 2020. Some of them would, not be sure what gear to go in when it was mostly all problems at low speeds and did not affect all transmissions. Some transmissions, when they were cold, would be taking off and be like, do I go in the second, third, or fourth? I'm not sure. Let's go into third. Or let's go into fourth. Oh, no, I was wrong. Let's go into third. So there's a bit of that indecisiveness. If you have a transmission like that on an F-150, let's say, or a Mustang, it can be reprogrammed. This can be worked out. And that's great because GM, with their 8 and 10 speed issues, they just go, no, that's normal. Go, leave us alone. Don't bother us. Ford spent money getting a new program and making it available. Yes, All-Terrain Nation, howdy, right on. We're just talking about how we love your Mustang and love the color of your Bronco. We think that you've got one awesome yard over there. Very, very impressed. Winston would take a ride in your Bronco anytime if you'd have him. I know he's not the most masculine. He doesn't maybe give off the most masculine impression, but
he loves his Bronco ride.
He loves his Bronco rides, and how I see it is I don't need a big dog to protect me. I'm okay protecting my little dog. And if anyone has a problem with it, well, no one's armed in Canada. So yeah, jokes on them if they want to make a fuss. So the 2.7 liter Wild Track, you get down to it, and $959. The Badlands was $871. The Big Ben with the Sasquatch. So, it's always coming down to a few $100s per month. But the Wild Track is starting to get expensive, and that's where it's like, yeah, the Badlands is right, that happy medium, great look, good looking mag, great tires. It's your favorite. You've told me before it's your favorite mag.
Yeah. That's my favorite mag, but we love the grill of the Wild Track, the front grill.
If I'm paying cash, it's a Black Diamond. If I'm making payments, it's a really tough choice between a Badlands at $871 or a Wild Track at $959. And if you're making payments, no matter what, that 7% interest rate is high. So I'd probably be tempted to, just try to throw on more cash onto the Wild Track. But boy, does it ever look good. It's best looking grill, best looking mags. It's the one model where I know I won't go out and spend $4,000 on tires and mags. It's the one model I know I won't go and spend $6,500 on suspension. It's the one model that I know that the only thing I'll think about modifying, Howdy 4 high, 4 low. Maybe you'll like this one. You don't need to spend $1,000 on a muffler system, on an exhaust system on these Broncos if you want to make more noise. I think the best solution is the second cheapest solution. The cheapest solution is you take a drill and you drill into your muffler and it will sound louder. I've done that before, and Marie said I was a child and I needed to grow up. You said, what the fudge, grow up. Pretty much what you said, right? I'm not making this up.
Not in that words, but yeah. It's
I shopped for it. I shopped for your answer. I was like, oh, what do you think? Isn't this great? And then you told me, what the fudge. If I had not asked you, you would have been really polite and sweet and not said anything and let me play around with my toys. That is the cheapest solution. It's free. The drill bit won't even break, so it's not even a $6 drill bit. It's free. I did that on a V6 Mustang because I was like, you know what? It's a V6 Mustang. If I don't like it, I'll just change the mufflers or sell the vehicle.
Like I always said, do we really need that?
Here's the best option. $250 for the parts. Canadian, so less in US dollars, about $200 US. You can have right up on your auxiliary switches, or with a remote, you can have cutout valves. The Amazon ones are called, I don't like the name, they're called Evil exhaust cutouts by the brand, I guess, Evil, but there's different companies. But you can have it on an auxiliary switch, and you can have your straight, normal, healthy, pretty quiet exhaust. Unless you're hard on the pedal, it's pretty quiet. You can have that exhaust. You can have the drive-in at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night into the neighborhood exhaust. You won't have the, what do they call them? We don't have them here in Canada, but the house committees, the Home Buyers Association. You won't have the Home Buyers Association giving you a fine.
I love the idea of the switch.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because in the Mustang, you could put it on track mode and do more noise, but you can always go on a lowest mode that doesn't do that much sound, like you said, for the neighbors. I love that idea of a switch.
4 high, 4 low, thank you. It's Homeowners Association and Marine Vet. Yes, my dad did show me how to put on the bike spokes, the playing cards, so they go, or the plastic bottle. You could put the plastic bottle and set up on a bike. And I liked having a bit louder of a bike. I did it once and then I went back to my quiet bike. But anywho.
Yeah, and what's my idea for the Bronco and the other cars? I always said, just record the sound and listen to it in the radio.
Yeah, you've offered to make sound sitting beside me, but no. You never get the timing right. You make the sound when I'm not even on the pedal. So
it's like putting cards in the
two things
bike.
You can do, great accessory. Throw on your active exhaust. You kind of may call it, it's kind of like Ford's active exhaust. You throw it on the auxiliary switch. You'll also have a remote, and you can open up the exhaust before the mufflers. You could even do it before the catalytic converters, but then you're really going to be polluting. I don't recommend that, and it's going to be too loud. I'd put it just right before the muffler for off-road legal use only, because it's illegal on the main roads. But wherever you happen to hit that switch, I've listened to videos. The sound is actually pretty great. Love the sound. I'm very tempted to do it on the Porsche 911, but I'm also planning on selling the Porsche 911 in spring and maybe buying another Porsche 911. So, come this time of year, because in Canada, when winter's coming, the prices drop on them by you'll always find someone. That's when, in spring, the Porsche I got now would have been 34,000, and I got it for a deal, needing a little bit of work, but we'll talk about that maybe in after this episode. But the Wild Track is the model where you really don't have to modify anything other than really minor stuff that doesn't cost anything. Like we just threw on, we'll have an episode on this. So hit that bell notification, thumbs up, subscribe, and bell notification, not to miss out. But we threw on little grab handles. We also throw on an artificial blow-off valve. You don't have to spend $300-400 on a blow-off valve if you like that blow-off sound. We got a blow-off adapter. It was like $70-ish for it's an 21 off-road. Installed it. It's great. I let on the gas quickly. I let it go quickly. Or later on, if you just let go quickly, it has the blow-off sound. So I'm having a lot of fun. Hopefully the neighbors will still wave to me and say hi and not give me dirty looks. But it's cool, and it didn't cost that much, $70. So the Wild Track is the one model where I'm convinced that I'm not going to accidentally drop 10 grand into it or sell it too early and maybe have bad resale. Mind you, resale on Broncos has been good. I think it's a great vehicle to get. And the Land Cruiser is not anywhere at all similar or as capable off-road. So that's your build and price, folks. The one last thing we didn't see that we'll check out, we got the price on that Wild Track. So the Wild Track, just real quickly so we don't forget. Sorry, Everglades is also a model to consider because it's now back. Yeah, could you take us to the Wild Track 2.7? So your Wild Track, out of the box, no modifications, no temptation, $959. So at $959, but let's see what happens if we do a Badlands and we Sasquatch it. So avoid the 2.7. Let's say we go with the 2.7 liter because it's not that huge of a difference. And we throw on a Sasquatch package. I'd always take mid package, and that's the problem too. Wild Track comes with mid package. I want those heated seats. So even just the Badlands with the mid package, you're at $896. It's $100 less. So that's where I'm like, for an extra $100 to avoid modifying for thousands of dollars the vehicle, unless you're paying cash, that becomes really tempting. And then when you throw on the Sasquatch with a 2.7 liter, $946. So I think, and then have a grille that I'm not really fond of, but have a much nicer all black interior. So folks, I'd love to hear what you think is the right Bronco build. I'm starting to think it's just a Badlands Sasquatch. You don't have to modify anything. 2.7 liter, you've got the nicest looking interior. You've got now a 12-inch touchscreen, all black interior, so no beige colors in it. Our Wild Track is beige and blue.
Yeah, the interior of the Badlands was great. The orange touch
Best
everywhere.
interior.
Yeah, we love that color. The badge, orange badge at the on the outside, and the same color in the inside was perfect. Yeah. We have a question here from 4 High 4
Yeah,
Low.
the catch can. Great question,
Yeah.
4 High 4 Low. I've asked a parts specialist from Ford, and he's blown engines before, and he's had Honda engines that drink oil like an old an old alcoholic, a burnt out alcoholic. That's how those Hondas drink oil. And I was thinking he'd definitely tell me the catch can is an absolute must. And he told me, you know what? If you don't, incredibly beat on your Bronco, or if you're not hauling every single day and putting a lot of like more high heat temperatures, he said if you're going to basically race your Bronco or tow all the time and the temperatures are going to be higher, you don't need a catch can at all. He said for just mostly regular use, occasional towing, occasional off-roading where you don't overheat the vehicle, you don't have to worry about, collecting more metal shavings. You'll be okay. But that's what he said. But then I know Dwayne from Driven Wild Outdoors, he seems to be really a big fan of the catch can. I know that he got some metal shavings in the video that he did. it's tough to say, there's people on both sides. I think a big question for me is I'm not doing the catch can because I'm not going to keep this Bronco for 15 years. If I was, I wouldn't take any chances. I think it's worth the money. But for keeping something 4, 5, 6 years, I really don't think it's needed. Flo Jerez, hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. Shame on me if I did, but it's not intentional. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Hello. Welcome to the show. So in the end, if I were to do it all over again, my vote, Badlands, and it's just a question of whether I'd Sasquatch it or not. And at least on the Badlands, the Sasquatch upgrade is the least expensive upgrade. But let's just make sure I definitely take it with mid-package. We've got $5,240 for the Sasquatch to prevent me from maybe throwing on, $8,000 in upgrades. I'd probably get that. Now, I took the Wild Track this time because I felt it necessary as an inquisitive person, and I tell people with the channel, let me waste my money, let me make mistakes, let me break things. I'll do it for us all. So I want to try the Wild Track 3.0. My deciding factor was I'm not really helping anyone out if I just get another Badlands. I've got to try out that new Haas 3.0 and report back on it. And yes, it's super comfy, it's great, it's an incredible ride on bad roads. It is a better ride on bad roads than your Badlands. Your stock Badlands comes with a nice Sasquatch suspension, the Haas 2.0, and I think that's great. So I'd be really just torn whether I Sasquatch. If I was going to long-term the Bronco, I'd Sasquatch it. And if I was going to really long-term my Bronco and keep it something like 15 years, then I'd just probably get a stock Badlands so I can have the Haas 2.0, and I'd throw on bigger tires and throw a lift on it, and the modifications wouldn't bother me so much. It's just we change more often, and you pretty much always lose the money that you've put into for modifications. It's a big way to lose money fast. So you're better off to get a more equipped model and have that better resale than to spend $6,000 or $8,000 modifying something, and then you go to sell it 2, 3, 4 years later. That $8,000 or $6,000 or $4,000, whatever you put in, it's lost.
That's true. You need to check for the resale too.
Just today, I asked a client with a King Ranch. I said, "Well, do you have your original mags?" The mags he has on it were expensive. The guy's got money. He spent good money for some really expensive mags, but his resale was going to be less. Thankfully, he's like, "Yeah, of course I kept the original mags." I'm like, "Good job." Alrighty, so build-in price, I'll end out by saying it's so tough choosing, and a lot comes down to personal. I definitely take a Badlands.
We have many models, so it's hard to choose. Yeah,
take a Badlands. I change the front grille. And I don't know if I would Sasquatch it because, we can see, if you want to show it maybe in the pictures, just to wrap up, the Sasquatch versus a Badlands, they're both really big vehicles. They're both really big vehicles. And I kind of wanted a Raptor this time, and I couldn't get a Raptor. And I said, what's the closest thing to a Raptor? I think your budget Raptor is a Wild Track. It has the Haas 3.0 suspension, meaning huge Fox shocks. So we'll try to find those for you here. We've got some photos. Any idea? We've got the Fox suspension here. You can see in the photo here. You know what? I'm going to let you, I think, help me out with this, Marie. If you can get back to that other photo, to the suspension, if you can just cycle through right down here. If you can make that appear. Yeah. So the Fox suspension, you've got an external bypass cartridge or container that you see right here. I took a back photo of it because from one angle you just see the shock. So you've got that there, helping your shock not overheat. The suspension is bigger, it's beefier, it's comfier. We've driven it at high speeds, driving over roads. Now, between our Badlands, non-Sasquatch, and this, on all the little bumps that kind of ripple through road, little bumps, like 3-4 inch bumps, but a lot of them in a corner, this will left, right a little more, but it still stays very much under control, and you feel it less. So if you want to just cycle through the pictures, please, of the suspension, that would be fantastic. So you see right there, that's a really good photo of it. You've got your 2 cartridges, your main shock. This is really a beefy suspension made to, when you jump up in the air, to help have your wheel not bang completely down, and when you land, not have it bang back up into the top of the tower. You've got bigger tie rods, definitely bigger, better tie rods, and you have that steering wheel rack. So good if you're gonna beat around jumping this thing and doing donuts and playing around in like rough fields with it, and doing donuts in the fields, not just flat pavement. So it's ready to get pushed around more. That's your Sasquatch suspension present on the Badlands without going Sasquatch. I think the Badlands non-Sasquatch is an awesome bargain because you're getting fantastic off-road suspension, but you will have a smaller tie rod and the less beefy steering wheel rack. So yeah, if I was paying cash, probably Black Diamond, because we don't keep them that long. A difference of $170 over 1 to 1.5 years. I go, hey, what's $2,000 or $2,300 to have the most equipped model I can actually get my hands on, because the Raptor, can't get my hands on that. Everglades, couldn't when I ordered it then. I'd suspect a longer wait trying to get an Everglades now. So let us know in the comments which Bronco for 2024 is the best Bronco to you. That Black Diamond still has that 12-inch screen. It's just such a deal now that you can get the you could always get the mid package on the Black Diamond, but with the 12-inch screen, if you're paying cash, really consider the Black Diamond. It's one heck of a good deal.